existence. Prepare to discard your mental blinders. CounterThink with Mike Adams, live on Infowars.com.
Welcome to CounterThink with Mike Adams, broadcasting on Infowars.com and now an increasing number of radio stations around the country. Today we have a fascinating topic, which is the question, do demoncrats walk among us? And this is a serious question. We're going to have a full exploration in today's episode. I'm going to be asking the question, you know how you have Trump derangement syndrome out there? And you have a lot of these left-wing people that they're just infested with anger and evil, and they just want to murder and destroy and kill. And they cover their face with masks, and they wear black all the time. It's sort of like the modern KKK. Instead of white hoods, they wear black hoods. And you try to talk to them and they're deranged. They have no more logic or reason. They're driven by hatred and almost a sense of pure evil. And the question today is, are those individuals literally possessed or influenced by non-physical forces? We're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about demons and Satanism, and how many of these people worship Satan, and how their mission in life is to destroy life, to destroy love, to destroy order or law. They want chaos, they want destruction, they want murder. They revel in the murder of unborn babies, for example, and they attack Christians, they attack God, they attack the Bible, they attack just the very basis of Christianity. And so we have to ask the question now, are these people literally possessed with some kind of demonic or satanic influence? I mean, aside from the obvious ones that openly worship Satan. I mean, there are Satanists among these radical leftists, and almost everybody on the radical left is an atheist at minimum. So they hate God, or they believe God doesn't exist. They think that their lives have no meaning. They think that they don't have souls. They think their life ends when their physical body dies. And as a result, they don't believe that they are going to be held responsible for their actions. They don't believe in any kind of a divine judgment. And so they are mostly narcissists, and they're atheists, and they think there are no consequences. So that's sort of one of the underlying philosophies behind what they do. But we're going to explore this in a lot of detail in today's episode of CounterThink. And we'll start with the understanding, we're going to back up, actually, and start with some definitions of what is a human being. What does it mean to be human? And why is it that so many of these people on the left today, these demoncrats, as I call them, appear to be not fully human? Why is that? What's underneath that? Is it possible that some people can be influenced by demonic forces but still have some semblance of human free will? Is it also possible that some people are completely overtaken? They're possessed, for example, by a demon spirit or a satanic spirit, and that they, the original human being, has no consciousness left whatsoever. They're simply the body, the biological body that is now possessed by a demonic spirit that has taken control and acts out their evil and their destruction through that physical body in our physical world. This is probably the most philosophical discussion I've ever had on CounterThink. It's going to be the most unusual show, but I think also the most timely episode that I've ever recorded, because right now we have to ask, what is happening in our world? Because it feels like an invasion of literal demons and Satanists and minions from hell. And some of these people actually look that way, and some of them even dress up that way. They like to dress up like witches and, I don't know, like demon horned creatures and creatures from hell. And then they like to read children's books to children in public schools, like the Michelle Obama School in California. And they do it dressed as demons. They're indoctrinating children into things like transgenderism and demonic thought systems at the same time. So these topics and much more are straight ahead as we continue with CounterThink here on Infowars.com. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Warning, take the red pill before viewing. CounterThink with Mike Adams.
Welcome back to CounterThink with Mike Adams. Today is the most unusual episode that I've ever recorded. It's about the demonic possession of human beings and this term that I call demoncrats, because the question came to me the other day, are some of these Democrats, are some of these people suffering from Trump derangement syndrome, who have lost an ability to speak coherently, they've lost all rationality, they've lost compassion, they've lost respect for life. These people seem to be interested in just deception and destruction, mass murder and mass death. And it struck me, those are properties of literal demons and Satanists. And so I began to ask the question, is it possible that human beings today who tend to coalesce on the radical left are demonically influenced or literally possessed by demonic spirits or forces or, satanic types of forces? So to answer that question, we have to step back and take a look at what is a human being? What is a spirit? How does a spirit interface with the physical body? So let's start with that. First of all, some definitions. A human being is a combination of a biological being, that's your physical body, obviously, the biochemistry, the muscles, the blood, all these physical things, the physical brain. That physical body interfaces with a non-physical soul or a spirit, which brings consciousness to your existence. And it is only that human divine spirit combined with the human body that creates a whole being. So a human being, by definition, is a divine spirit that is interfacing with a biological system, a biological body. So you have both the body and the soul working together. Now, I know some of you might say, well, there are other levels of this. There's an energetic level, there's a spiritual level, there's a God level, all kinds of things. Just going to keep it basic here. You've got the physical body, and then you've got the non-physical soul, which interfaces with your body. Now, these things coexist for the duration of your life. But upon your life ending, your biological life here in this world, your non-physical spirit, of course, moves on. And according to religious doctrine, you are judged for your actions. You go to heaven, perhaps, or you go to hell. I mean, that's sort of how it's described in a lot of religious texts. But there's a very persistent belief that the soul, the consciousness, the mind, is something separate from the body. And that at the moment of conception, the soul enters the body and continues to co-inhabit that body as it's being formed as an unborn child and then born into our world and then, grows into an adult and eventually one day passes away, and then the spirit leaves the body. So the spirit is immortal. The spirit is of divine origin. The spirit inhabits this body for a limited period of time, the human lifetime, and then the spirit goes on and does other things. And once you understand that, it's very easy to understand that throughout the history of religion, and this includes the Catholic Church, for example, there have been probably, I don't know how many, let's just say hundreds of thousands of reports of demonic possession of human bodies. And even to this day, in fact, I saw a news story recently talking about Catholic priests are reporting now more exorcisms than at any time in the history of the Catholic Church. And what is an exorcism in a very rigorous definition? Well, an exorcism is an effort by a priest who, let's say, is a representative of a godlike institution or a representative of God in some way. I mean, I know the Catholic Church has its own major problems with little kids and things. But let's set that aside for this discussion. Let's say that there are good priests out there who are following the Word of God, and they are experts in exorcism. And what they do is they encourage a demonic possession to leave the body that demon spirit is possessing, so that the original divine consciousness can restore control over the body, and in essence, the real person is brought back into that body and is now in control of their body. This is not science fiction. This is something that Catholic priests do every single day all around the world. And in fact, this has been reflected throughout major world religions and even non-modern religious institutions, such as indigenous belief systems. For example, there are similar belief systems in the Amazonian Indian tribes, the Australian Aborigines, and even throughout cultures that today are atheists, such as communist China, which is an atheist kind of culture. They also have a very strong history and a cultural understanding of ghosts. And you see ghosts, which are non-physical spirits. You see these depicted in many movies in China to this very day, and throughout Asian culture, including Japan, Taiwan, Korea, Thailand, Vietnam, and so on. So this is a universal idea. I haven't got to the debate part yet. This is not controversial. I mean, this is not a debate yet. This is widely established around the world that there is a non-physical spirit that comes in and possesses or is born with or is conceived with, let's say, a human body, and that this spirit, if somehow the human divine spirit is overcome by evil, that then a demonic spirit, a demon, can possess the physical body, and then that demon takes control of that physical body and then uses that physical body in our world in order to infiltrate society and carry out a demonic destructive agenda throughout society, i.e. Planned Parenthood, or pushing transgenderism on children, for example. All of these demonic agendas are carried out by people who are no longer, and this is the key, they're no longer human beings because they aren't fully qualified humans. They don't have that combination of the human divine spirit combined with the human body. That spirit has been suppressed or eliminated or evacuated or we don't understand the mechanism, right? We're not God. We can't see exactly how this works. We just know that in some cases, certain people are perhaps spiritually vulnerable, or some even worship Satan. There are a lot of Satanists, and they invite a demonic spirit into their body. They invite that spirit to take over, and that spirit will take over. If you beg to be demonically possessed, perhaps that opens some kind of spiritual permission doorway through which demons just come in and say, okay, you want to be run by a demon? Here you go. And what's interesting to me is that I believe that when people are demonically possessed, it begins to alter their facial expression, begins to alter their appearance. They begin to physically resemble the dark being that they are on the inside. And you start to look at the faces of people who I suspect, I can't prove this, but I suspect of being demonically possessed or even satanically influenced. You start to look at their faces and you see demon type of behavior sort of coming through their physical expression. Look at these clips of Peter Strzok when he was testifying before Congress. Almost a demonic kind of smirk. In fact, we should call him Peter Smirk. Look at the evil in his eyes. Look at people like Brian Stelter at CNN. It's like he is possessed. It's like he's a demon. I mean, a literal demon in some way on the inside. Look at some of these trolls and orcs, like this guy that attacked Alex Jones on the street, or some of these faces of people on the radical left who are with Antifa or who are pro-communism, or who are pro-abortion, who celebrate the murder of babies, who celebrate Planned Parenthood, abortions, and all these things. They look sick. They look like creatures of darkness. They look like they're just one stage away from Nosferatu or some kind of zombie-like creature. Some of these people look like the Walking Dead. And that's not a coincidence, and that's not a joke. That is, I believe, a reflection, because I think the physical body over time begins to reflect the inner soul. And if your soul is dark and evil, then the outer body will begin to become dark and evil in its physical depiction. And some of these people just go down that pathway to extreme evil, and it shows on their faces. They look evil. I'm not talking about physical beauty, whether someone's ugly or attractive. I'm talking about like an inner demonic physical horror that you see through their faces. Much more straight ahead on CounterThink. Stay with us.
Countering the brain-dead propaganda of the status quo. This is CounterThink with Mike Adams, right here on InfoWars.
So now that you understand that there can be demonic influence or demonic possession of a human body, and that this belief system has been reflected throughout world history, throughout every culture, and throughout every religion, this is talked about, that there are evil, spiritual, demonic, or satanic forces that can possess a body or influence a body. That's not debatable. That is established in the human knowledge throughout history. Now that we understand that, let's take a closer look at what I call modern-day demoncrats. And as I mentioned in the intro, this occurred to me because I began to find that a lot of these radical left-wing individuals in society today who suffer from what we call Trump derangement syndrome, it's like they have lost the ability to reason. They're actually driven by hatred and a desire to murder and destroy and a desire to end life. And if you think about that on the spiritual realm, you have angelic spirits, you have godlike spirits, and let's say helpers of the divine. Their job is to protect life, to stop murder, to stop suffering, right? This is also universal throughout world religions, from Buddhism and Hinduism, Judaism, Christianity, even Islam talks about these same concepts. But then you've got this other side, which is pure evil, and it wants to destroy, it wants to end life, it wants to cause massive suffering, it wants collapse of societies, it wants chaos and fear to rule over humankind. Now, which one of those belief systems sounds like Democrats? I mean, it's a very clear answer. It's suddenly obvious. Democrats want to murder babies. They celebrate the murder of babies. Look at what was her name? Michelle Wolf marching around on Netflix, celebrating murdering babies in the name of American patriotism. These people love to kill babies. They love to harvest the organs from babies. They love this idea. They truly worship it. It's like they're licking their lips thinking about how many babies they can murder this year. And they consider, by the way, murdering babies to be a fundamental human right, which is something that not a normal human would want. This is something that a demon would want, you see, but not a human being who is humble to God or divine principles. This is something that a demon would want, you know, an actual life-ending, pro-suffering demon. So it's not just abortion, though. It's also that these people on the radical left, you can no longer reason with them. That part of the human mind that normally you could reason with, where you could have a conversation or a debate, where you could engage in some sort of logic to say, hey, here's some evidence, or here's some logic, you know, connect the dots. All of that circuitry is burned out. It's gone from these, what I call demoncrats. And I think the reason is because when they are possessed by these evil forces, they no longer have the higher consciousness brain functions of a human being. In other words, to say that another way, when they're infested by or invaded by a lower vibrational spiritual force, a dark spirit or a demonic spirit, they no longer have access to those higher brain functions. It's kind of like, as you see zombies depicted in many movies and TV shows like The Walking Dead, zombies don't have higher brain function. Well, why is that? Because they're creatures of darkness. They're creatures of death, decrepit, suffering, lumbering, mindless masses. And that describes, by the way, leftists today. That describes Antifa. They're mindless. They call themselves anti-fascists. And what are they doing? They are engaging in fascist type of behavior, saying that no one has a right to exist or even to speak unless they agree with them. That's a fascist type of behavior. They will demand nonviolence while they're beating you to death with a bike lock over the head and making you bleed out. They'll say, they'll scream at you, you know, stop committing hatred while they're beating you with a bike lock. I mean, this is so insane. And it really occurred to me that this is not human behavior. These behaviors that we are witnessing among leftists, all the violence in places like Portland, the attacks on innocent people, over 500 documented attacks today on Trump supporters and America supporters and patriots. These attacks are mindless. They don't come from a place of rationality. They come from a place, I believe, at least in many cases, of a true demonic possession or influence, because the humanity has been stripped out of these people. Now, to be human, to be fully human, you have to have compassion. You have to have empathy. There's actually an empathy circuit, so to speak, in the mind, in the consciousness of a human being. When you care for other human beings, you don't want them to suffer because you can imagine their suffering in you. Just to see someone suffer makes you suffer. This is an empathy circuit. It's part of being human. It's actually part of our divine spirit existence, by the way. Or to see an animal suffer, it causes you to hurt inside. You feel that pain and you want it to stop. So you want to end suffering. That's a normal human thing. But how do you describe someone who is so seething with anger and hatred that they literally want people to suffer? They want to see mass suffering. They want to see mass death. They want to see destruction. They want to see starvation. They want to cause a collapse of society. They want to see America descend into a Venezuela type of scenario where you have mass starvation, people eating their family pets. And before long, if that continues, by the way, it's going to descend into cannibalism. There's a prediction for you. But mark my words, the people of Venezuela will soon be eating the people of Venezuela if things don't change. And this is fully in line with the agenda of demonic satanic forces. They love to see humanity eating humans. I mean, just like they'd love to see babies partially born, the head comes out, and they cut the back of the base of the spine. I'm sorry, the base of the skull where the spine connects to it. They cut that. They sever the nerves right there, and then they harvest the brain from that baby, and they just drool over it. They're seething with just joy and celebration. It gets them excited. It's almost, for some of these people, it's almost like a sexual turn-on, which is also why many of these people are into child pedophilia, child sex trafficking, human trafficking rings and all of that. They literally get excited over mass death and suffering. That is not a normal human thing. And this is one more reason why I am convinced that we need to start looking at these people as demoncrats, i.e. not human anymore. They have become demonically possessed in a literal sense. This is not metaphor. This is metaphysics. That's true. We're talking about things beyond the realm of normal physical existence. We're talking about a spiritual realm. We're talking about the existence of the spirit and how spirits work and how they move in and out of bodies, either through life and death or through this demonic possession. And I believe we have entered a time, and I'll talk about this in the next segment, but a time when actual demonic satanic forces have declared a new wave of warfare against humanity. And they have unleashed their most powerful demonic minions, i.e. Hillary Clinton, people like that, onto our earth in order to absolutely enslave humanity, to cause massive human suffering, death, destruction, and collapse. That's what I believe. And I'll explain more as we continue here on CounterThink.
Exposing the corporate media assaults on your reality. It's CounterThink with Mike Adams.
Now, one of the most important skills that you need to master in order to navigate this battleground, this spiritual battleground in which we're living today, is you need to be able to successfully and quickly identify people who have been demonically influenced or possessed, i.e., how do you identify demoncrats? Now, it's not enough to just say, well, that person voted for Hillary Clinton, they're a demon. No, it's not that simple. There's some people on the left who still have their humanity. They're just miseducated, they're misled, they're suffering under illusion, they've been propagandized by the New York Times and so on. So not everybody on the left is an actual possessed demon. But there are possessed people, and they tend to sort of move to the radical left because that's where their ideas are accepted. That's where it's accepted to murder babies, as we've said before. It's accepted to be an atheist or to hate God or to hate Christians or, to call for all these other things like death and suffering and murder and collapse and just mass killing and hatred and anger everywhere. So it's a mix, and we need to be able to sort them out so we can identify who's really in charge here. The key question is, do they have a divine spirit in that body? Or has that body been taken over by a destructive evil spirit, in which case they could be diagnosed as a sociopath, they could be diagnosed with perhaps multiple personality disorder or some kind of psychopathy. Some of these people throughout history have become mass murderers, for example. Some of them have become cult leaders who have led people to their deaths. There's a guy in California, I think his name was Applegate, Apple something, and he led the cult called Heaven's Gate. And in that cult, he stated that there was a comet that was going to bring a mothership to Earth, and that everybody in his California cult had to get ready for the mothership to arrive by wearing Nikes, and I don't know what else they did. They had to wear Nikes, and they had to, I don't know, do weird rituals and things. And today you've got the NXIVM child sex cult and sex slavery cult. There have been, probably over 100 arrests across America just in the last 2 years about this NXIVM sex cult, where they actually brand people with like hot irons. They put a scar on the person's skin to say that they are owned by their sex master. And there are high-level people in Hollywood who have been arrested. There was that actress, she was like on Superman or Smallville or whatever that show was. I forgot her name. Doesn't matter. There are a lot of famous Hollywood people who have been caught up in this, and some have been arrested. And a lot of these people have ties to the Clinton Global Initiative, it has come out. And then there's Jeffrey Epstein and the whole, pedo island and the Lolita Express pedophile jet and all that stuff, and how they use, sex traps to blackmail, high-level politicians and keep them in line and so on. I mean, there's all of that, all those trails that you can go down if you're really curious about that. And by the way, you can go onto real.video, and there are now over 6,000 videos uploaded there. And some of those videos talk about that NXIVM sex cult and the arrests that have been made. So that's a good place to search for those videos because they've all been banned on YouTube. But we've noticed on real.video, we're getting a lot of videos uploaded there that are banned everywhere else. So it's becoming kind of a repository of, conspiracy analysis videos like 9/11 videos, all the false flag videos, the shootings and everything, plus this NXIVM sex cult stuff. It's becoming like a really huge library of videos. In any case, getting back to the point here, we need to be able to identify demoncrats. And so I've listed out a couple of things here. I'm going to go over this with you. A demoncrat is likely to be possessed by an actual demonic influence if they have the following characteristics. Number one, they might look like actual demons. They might have very strange look about them. Sometimes they want to dress up like demons. They want to wear horns. They want to have tattoos that make them look like demons. I mean, not all tattoos means someone's a demon. I'm just saying that this is one of the signs to look for. In many cases, the men don't possess any kind of masculinity. They've been influenced to give away their power and to become pathetic weaklings, i.e. Feminized biological men, but inside they're no longer really human men at all. Just another potential sign. The third point is they may have no logic or rationality, and their mind functions like they're part of a fanaticism cult where you ask them, hey, why do you hate Trump? And they can't explain why. They just say, well, you just have to hate him. He's just an evil person. We just hate Trump. Or why do you hate America? Why is America bad? And they can't explain why. They just say, well, America's bad. Everybody knows America's bad. They've lost rationality. That's because that higher human brain function is not working because they're not home. You know what I mean? It's like the human has left the arena in those cases. Another thing is they tend to be interested in pedophilia, child rape, pushing LGBT agendas onto children, which involves female genital mutilation, as well as transgender surgeries that cause the the maiming of the genitalia of children, as well as sometimes chemical castration. So when you see parents or members of society pushing children into getting transgender surgery and having a transgender transition, it involves chemical castration, which is taking away the reproductive organs of a human child. And why would you want to take away the reproductive organs if you're a demon? Because demons are into death and destruction and extinction. They don't want the human race to be able to be sustainable. And the human race is only sustainable if you have men and women having a union, having fertility and reproducing a human child who is also either a male or a female. Transgenderism is an assault on the continuation of the species, because once you undergo those surgeries or the chemical castration, you are no longer able to reproduce and sustain human civilization. You no longer participate in the human gene pool. Now, there are some transgender people who, let's say they get pregnant as a woman and then they transition to a man, and then CNN will claim, publishing fake news, say, well, men can get pregnant. No, it's a biological woman. And she obviously hasn't made the physical transition to a male because she still has her ovaries and her womb, and she still has her reproductive organs and her reproductive capability, so she's continuing to carry a child. So at least she can participate. But some women literally have the surgery and have the chemical castration. They can no longer participate in the sustainability of human civilization. So just remember, all these attacks on children, these are the kind of attacks that are pursued by people who have an anti-human agenda, and that is a demonic, destructive type of influence, which could be indicative that you're talking to a demoncrat. Okay, we talked about abortion. Of course, they love to murder babies. They love abortion. It's not just that they want to reduce the population, they also want to cause incredible human suffering. Many people believe, and this is reflected throughout world religions and cultures, going back thousands of years, that evil demonic forces in some way feed on suffering. That the more suffering takes place, it's kind of an energetic recharging of the batteries of evil forces, you might say. I mean, that's just a metaphor. But the more suffering they can cause, the more power they get over humankind. And so the actual suffering, like the partial birth abortions that I mentioned, the baby's almost born and then they murder it right there. That suffering, at the moment of leaving the mother, the moment of entering this world to be murdered in that moment has powerful, destructive spiritual significance that empowers demonic forces. And I should almost emphasize that even more, because there's something about that moment of birth, of coming into this world where the spirit should be celebrated in a divine celebration of birth and welcoming and love. At that moment, the most heinous crime against a conscious human being is deliberately committed by abortionists, and it is then celebrated by insane, deranged leftists who actually are not so much insane as they are demonically possessed. This is their demon power. This is like the breakfast feast for a demon who works at Planned Parenthood. A demonically possessed individual feeds off of the suffering of abortion. We'll be right back with more.
Prepare to discard your mental blinders. CounterThink with Mike Adams is now live on Infowars.com.
You know, there are elements of this discussion today that are so disturbing. Even I have a hard time going through this. It's just that sometimes it makes me want to break down in tears for the human suffering that is taking place. And all I want is to save life, to protect life, to live in a society rooted in logic and reason and peace, civility, love, with morals and ethics and respect for the divine. You know, I mean, is it really too much to ask? But again, we're in a spiritual war. We're at war with demonic forces. And that's why everything that you're witnessing today, the censorship, the vicious attacks, the insanity of leftists, that's why this is happening today, because there is a satanic / demonic minions war against humanity. And that's why we now call them demoncrats. So understand that demoncrats also, in addition to all the things they hate, such as freedom and individual liberty, they want to enslave you. So they are opposed to liberty at every opportunity. They are opposed to individual freedom of choice. They oppose health freedom, medical freedom, food freedom. They oppose the freedom of self-defense, the Second Amendment. They oppose freedom of speech. They believe in thought crimes. They believe that they can force you to live the way that they demand you live so that you have no freedom whatsoever. This collectivism idea, which is very close to communism, is also, by the way, just one step away from Satanism. So remember that. Collectivism is a kind of expression of Satanism. It is collective enslavement, torture, and suffering. Because it's individual liberty and free will and free markets that give people abundance and also the ability to live their lives in the way that they wish to live. And with that comes responsibility, of course. And yet the left hates the idea, these demoncrats, they hate the idea that an individual might be able to think for himself or herself. And so we must learn to defeat these demoncrats at every opportunity. And that's what this last segment is devoted to here on CounterThink, defeating the demoncrats. Step one is actually sharing this episode. This episode airs on Infowars.com Sunday nights at 6 p.m. You know, a different episode each Sunday. This full episode is also available at CounterThink.com. And then it's also posted a couple days later at Real.video. So share this episode, because really step one is waking up and recognizing that you are not simply fighting other humans. You are dealing with literal demons. There are demons that are possessing the bodies of those so-called people that are trying to control you and tyrannize you and overthrow you. And they're trying to control your life, and they're trying to shut off your voice. They're trying to cause pain and suffering. They want your society to collapse. They want you to end up in starvation like Venezuela. They want to take all your money. They take all your savings, everything that you've earned in life. They actually believe in a communist regime seizing all private business. You know, these leftists have openly argued for that. That's part of their philosophy. So number one is to realize you're not dealing with humans all the time. You're dealing with a lot of actual demons who are pretending to be humans. And again, that's why I call them demoncrats. So the good news in this is that these people cannot win an argument. Well, actually, I shouldn't even call them people. These demoncrats can't win an argument, which is why they have to resort to censorship. So you can outthink them. You can outmaneuver them. You can outvote them. There are many ways to defeat them, including at the ballot box. And if you can outvote them, that's the number one thing to do, is prevent them from having power over you. Do not let demonic forces rule over you as authoritarian tyrants. And the very first place to do that is at the ballot box. Secondly, you have to invoke the power of your voice. The word, as it's referred to in the Bible, I mean, I'm not a Bible scholar, but I seem to recall a lot of scripture talking about the power of the word, or the word of God. And simply to state things, to state truths, brings power to those statements and brings awareness to the universe. So part of your spiritual mission here, if you want to describe it that way, is to simply speak the truth as I'm doing here. Join me in it so that your voice, which has the power, reflected power of God in it, your voice joins my voice and the voice of many, many other people on places like Real.video or your own website, wherever you are, and dare to speak the truth. Dare to point out that these so-called leftists, they act and look like demons, that they are wrong, that abortion is wrong, and that this mass murder and suffering is wrong, and that what they are calling for is the path of destruction for humanity. And we must resist them at every opportunity. That your voice is a very important tool in all of this. Your voice has a divine purpose in our world. Otherwise, I believe you wouldn't be here. And some of you are pastors, and some of you are church congregation members. You understand the battle that we're in right now. And you know that the power of your voice combined with the power of your vote can make a difference. But now bring into it the power of even your dollars. Where are you purchasing things online? If you're purchasing at Amazon.com, you're supporting radical globalist forces. Wherever you can, support the InfoWars store, for example, InfoWarsStore.com. Support my store, HealthRangerStore.com. Or support the store at Real.video. There's a whole e-commerce backend there called shop.real.video. Support these online stores so that you are providing not just your energetic support, but even your financial support for the voices and the platforms and the organizations that are out there fighting for you and fighting, actually literally waging a spiritual war for the continuation of humankind. It's no joke. It's not hyperbole. We're fighting an epic spiritual battle for the future of our world. Is our world going to be run by demons, or will it be run by divine humans who love God? I mean, it's the biggest question of our time. It's beyond epic. It is cosmic, this question. Who will run our world? And the correct answer is it shouldn't be any one group or one person. It should be decentralized so that individuals have liberty and free market ideas and free market trade. It should be a decentralized system with, a million independent news channels, not just a few controlled news organizations that are told what to say and what to do. Who runs our world? The answer should be decentralization, not that demons run it. And that's why this is an epic, epic battle. Finally, if it comes down to it and you are under siege, you are physically attacked, let's say at a peaceful prayer rally, which Antifa is attacking, you've got to understand that you have a divine right of self-defense, which means that if you are being physically attacked, if you are being threatened with deadly force by these literal demonic radical left-wing goblins, that you ultimately have the right to defend yourself using constitutionally protected tools of self-defense. You have the right under law, under common law, even in state law and federal law, to defend yourself. You also have the right, and I believe even the obligation, to defend your nation against enemies who are operating within your nation. Now, as I've said in previous shows, you have to have a stance of a defensive nature. We don't start fights. We don't initiate violence against anyone. What we do is we take a defensive posture to protect our liberties, to protect our nation, protect our president, protect our own lives, protect our families and communities. And if necessary, we will invoke the tools that are needed to defend ourselves against aggression and violence, whether that violence is carried out by demons or just really incredibly stupid human beings who have been misled and maybe pushed into an escalation of hatred where to the point where they think they want to kill you. In either case, you have the right to defend yourself, but we don't start out with that posture. That is a last resort. So the bottom line here is we defeat demoncrats at the ballot box. We defeat them by exercising our voice, by speaking the truth, knowing that it's reflected throughout the divine cosmos, that the power of speaking is a divine power. We vote with our dollars to support the platforms that we want to exist and protect us, or protect our right to speak. And then we get competent in the ability to defend ourselves against physical violence and assaults that are leveled against us, because we have the right of self-defense and to defend our nation as well. So that's the wrap. There you go. A lot to think about. Mike Adams here of CounterThink. Thank you for watching.